Latino here on Monday. Super Bowl is over, and God knows that the Cincinnati Bengals couldn't convert on a 3rd and 1 and a 4th and 1, and that happened twice. So goes the Rams winning the Super Bowl this year. But in any case, I am here to talk to you about my Live with Tony series, and I had a couple of articles that I read over the weekend that I wanted to talk about. And I think we're going to go backwards. I'm going to start with the cognitive fitness in adults and early dementia. And I was in the UCLA Health and Newsletter. So let me just give you the reference point here. I just found this fascinating in terms of reading this particular story. But it's in their Healthy Years coming out of UCLA. And this is the March 2022 issue. So we're way ahead of ourselves here. But in it, they talked about robotic pets boost mood, behavior, and cognition in adults with dementia. So one of the things that's happening is Michael Dattino is beginning next week a 14-week program on early dementia. It's called the Brain Fitness Academy. And his work on that has just been fascinating and ties to a lot of the things we talk about in the 6 elements of brain fitness. But here's one for you. People with dementia often experience behavioral and psychological symptoms that include depression, anxiety, psychosis, and disinhibition. In the quest to provide relief without medication, researchers at Florida Atlantic University tested the effectiveness of interactive robotic pet cats to improve mood, behavior, and cognition. Those adults with mild to moderate dementia. The study appeared in the Journal of Mental Health in Nursing. The cat intervention took place over the course of 12 visits in an adult daycare center. Participants were told that the pet was a robot and not a live animal, and that each of them selected a name for their cat. More than half of the participants scored higher on the mental state examination post-test than they did on the pre-test. Researchers frequently observed study participants smiling and talking to their robotic cats. And the pets motivated participants to share memories involving previous pets they had owned. Several of the caregivers reported that their loved one had slept with the cat, held onto it when sitting, or consistently played with it. Research suggests that giving the choice between cats and dogs may produce even greater results depending upon participation preference. So that got me to thinking about, well, gee, if they did this with robotic cats and they're thinking about doing this with robotic dogs and finding what people's preferences are, I guess I see people walking with real dogs. I mean, you see them more in the public with dogs than you do with cats. And it makes me wonder, gee, why did they do robotics? I love to question the folks at the Florida Atlantic University. What made you use robotics as opposed to a live animal? And why did you pick a cat versus a dog? But the important thing, and we're going to be in the middle of this now for the next month and 3 months, as Michael dives into the attendees that will be going through this Brain Fitness Academy. It is for people with mild cognitive impairment. They've had to go through a MOCA test to qualify for the program and do a certain level. And we'll see as the weeks go by what takes place. Also, he's going to be starting up with his 3rd group of students at Columbia University and putting them through the memory training that's part of the Maximum Memory Mastery. So combination of Maximum Memory Mastery and the online course on the 6 factors of brain fitness are just the cutting edge in terms of work that we are doing and he is doing that really gives us feedback on the best methods and ways to help people. Along comes another article in the UCLA newsletter, Rebuilding and Continuing Strength. So any of you that have listened to my broadcast, we know the importance of exercise. And so we continue to stress the importance of exercise as it relates to not just our muscles, but to our aerobics. And so we cut exercise into 3 pieces. One is strength through resistance training. So you can do resistance bands. You can actually do yourself and push yourself off and down a wall. None of this has to require you to go get this big massive gym and start with a gymnasium style fitness center in your home. It's a matter of continuing to exercise your core muscle groups. So I always think about my thighs and walking up and down steps. Whenever I can walk up and down steps, I will do so. It helps your muscles between those muscles between your knee and your hip. It doesn't hurt to continue to keep those engaged and working. So that's one group of muscles. We certainly know what our abs are all about, so we want to keep our abs going a lot. So some nights, if you're sitting in a chair, try to get up from the chair using your leg muscles as well as your stomach muscles. Hold on to your stomach getting out of a chair. You'd be amazed at how your stomach muscles have to work with your leg muscles. And just do some things within your own power, not running to a gym or running to buy heavy-duty exercise equipment. Half-gallon jugs of water, and lots of people are buying water bottles. Even use the water bottles and just do some arm curls, and then do them the other way. You don't need to go crazy with this stuff. You just need to know that you want to have some level of resistance training. So lifting dumbbells, got it, tubes or bands, or use your own body weight are all forms of resistance training. Do these types of exercises 2 or 3 times per week. You should do each exercise to the point of exhaustion or nearly so. In other words, you've reached the repetition when you can no longer complete a repetition in proper form. If you don't know what that is, then you may want to have a trainer. But the point of the matter is, are you exercising your muscles? Are you using your legs? Are you walking up and down steps? I sometimes will stand on the edge of a step and just do foot toes and raise my feet, my whole body just off my front toes. I'll turn around and go the other way and use my heels and try to lift up, my body doing it in that fashion. So the important thing, as they're talking about here, is building up and rebuilding strength. So building and rebuilding strength, and resistance training is a powerful one. They also talked up with proteins. They made the point that proteins provide building blocks for bone, muscle, skin, and more. Plant and animal protein sources supply immune system boosting vitamin B, antioxidant E, iron, and zinc. As we age, the body is less efficient at metabolizing protein, so much more is needed in the 6th decade, 60 years old, and beyond. So what we need to be able to do then is make sure we're getting some protein. And there's a whole variety of foods that we can eat, and it doesn't always have to be pouring in pounds of meat, but we can get our proteins, which is another important ingredient to us in terms of how we maintain and rebuild our strength. Plan weekly meals. Stock up on ingredients so everything is handy. A registered dietitian can design a protein-based meal plan, but you have salmon recipes they talk about and different things. So if you like fish, salmon's a good way, but there's a lot of other proteins that we can get. So this is, again, some of the things we cover in the elements of brain fitness, but strength exercising. That comes in, this issue of UCLA's Healthy Years is fantastic. Tossing and turning at night. You want to have sleep problems? My goodness gracious. I'm meeting and talking to more and more people that have sleep problems and sleep problems and sleep problems. And so, are you having difficulty sleeping, waking up for long periods of time in the middle of the night? Boy, do I talk to people recently. It seems like everybody I'm talking to is getting up at 1 or 2 in the morning, and then they're not able to go back to sleep. But then I always say, what's making you so anxious? What is it that's keeping you awake? And then what are you making that mean? Are you trying to remember something? Well, get that down on a piece of paper. Just get out of bed for a few minutes and write it all down. People don't seem to understand. When you get up in the middle of the night, your brain is obviously trying to tell you something. Whatever that is, good, bad, or indifferent, just pour it out onto a piece of paper. Just sit down in a chair somewhere, and maybe you have a light, walking light or something like that, and get to work on it, and just let it go and see what it tells you. But getting up in the middle of the night, how many people wake up with morning fatigue? The alarm has to go off to get you up, even these days of COVID. So are you getting up with morning fatigue? Might have been you didn't have a good night's sleep, and you were just having bad dreams. Were you taking some medications that you used to get to sleep, and now they have the lingering effects of that. And that leads to forgetfulness for sure, cognitive inhibited, and most importantly, it impacts your personal relationships. I mean, who's bubbly and jovial and all excited when you're tired and you get up in the morning? So what I encourage people to do is start to be focused on what's keeping you awake. When it's time to go to bed, what is it that you're watching before television, before bed? What television programs are you watching? How are they leaving you? What emotional state are you in? And how can you bring yourself down through the states of anxiety, stress, frustration, anger, before you go to bed? There's no brain that's going to just say, okay, I'm really angry, I'm really stoked up here, and I want to go to bed right now, and I'm going to have a good night's rest. It's not the way we want you to go to bed. So I think I've mentioned it over and over again. I have stopped watching the news after 6 o'clock at night. If I something I want to watch in the news, I tape it and watch it the next morning when I get up. If there's something troubling me during the day and I'm going to carry that forward, I jot it all down. If I can, sometimes before I go to bed. This way I know it's all here and it's safe. I put the paper somewhere in my office where I know where it's going to be, and I say, well, when I want to pick that ball back up again, I know exactly where I need to go to pick it up. So these are just some short tips based on the March issue of the UCLA Healthy Years newsletter. I wanted to share those with you. I think, as my Live with Tony audience knows, I do lots of reading over the weekends, save up my stash, and when it's warm enough, go sit at the pool and pick up my reading, and then say, I know what I want to talk about on Monday, I know what I want to talk about on Tuesday, and sometimes I even go to Wednesday, Wednesday and Friday. But in any case, I sometimes change based on what I read. So love it, enjoy it, have a good evening. We're off and going to another week in February. It's like hard to believe the days are going by so quick. But in any case, all of you, please stay safe, be smart. COVID is still around, still nipping at us. So be smart about where you are, what you're doing, what you're going through, and take good care of yourself. And we'll see you on Wednesday.